All right, Subpart D, National Register Certified Medical Examiner Scope. The rules of the subpart itself with the minimum qualification, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Certification Medical Examiner Listing Examiner, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration National Register Certified Medical Examiner, National Register of the Certified Medical Examiner Program designed to improve the highway safety operator health with the requirement of the medical examiner to train and certify to determine effectively whether an operator meets the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration physical quality standards under paragraph 391, chapter 1, component of the National Register Program Registry itself, and which is national database of the name of the contact information medical examiner certified with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and perform medical examinations of operators. R 390-103 is the eligibility requirement of the medical examiner certification. Receive the medical examiner certification, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. A person must be licensed, certified, with the register in accordance with the applicable state laws, regulation, perform physical examination. Application must be an advanced practitioner of the doctor or chiropractor, doctor of medicine, doctor of osteopathy, physician assistants, other medical professional, authorized applicable state law regulations, perform physical examination, complete the training program, meets the requirements of 390-105, pass medical examiner certification test of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration testing organization, meet the requirements of 390-107, has electronically forward the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration application testing the application information more than 3 years after completion of the training program. According to paragraph 82 of this section, the applicant must take the test more than once every 30 days. If a person medical examiner certification, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administrator, then renew certification of the medical examiner must remain qualified under paragraph A1 of the section. Complete additional testing and training is required in 390-11A. 11-1A-5. 390-105 medical examiner training. Applicant medical examiner certification must complete training of the program conducted with the training provider at accredited national recognized medical professional accrediting organization to provide continuing education units. Meet the following administrative requirements. Provide training participants with approved participants. Provide Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration points of contact information training participants. Provide the training of the medical examiner to the following topics: the background, rational, mission, and goals of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration medical examiner, the roles of reducing crashes, injury, fatalities involving commercial motor vehicles, familiarization with the responsible working environment of the commercial motor vehicle operation, notification of the operator, obtaining and reviewing the documentation of operator medical history, including the prescription of over-the-counter medication, performing, reviewing the documentation of operator medical examiner, performing and obtaining the documentation, additional diagnostic tests of medical opinion from medical specialists, training physician, informing, educating the operator with the medication done, describe all the following medical conditions, require medical remedial care, determination, operating certificate out of an area period. Certification should be valid. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration reporting documentation requirements. Guidance for the core curriculum specification training program providers available to Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Alright, 390-107, the medical examiner certification test. The applicant with the medical examiner certification recertification in accordance with the minimum specification application elements available by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Testing organization meet the following criteria. Testing organization documented policy and procedure. Use secure protocols to access with the process store with the transmittal, all test items, test forms, test data, with candidate information. Ensure the access for the authorized personnel only, and ensure the testing environments for the reasonable, comfortable, have the minimum distractions. Prevent the greatest extent practical opportunity tester taker to attain the passing score by fraudulent means. Ensure the test center with the staff that interact with the proctor. Examine the provide technical support to have the complete the formal training that demonstrate the capacities of the monitor periodically quality insurance the testing procedure. Accommodate testing individual disabilities impairments, minimize the effect of the disability impairments while maintaining the security of the test data. Testing organization of the test examining not all locations operated with the staff and by organization by the means of remote computer-based system may in addition with the requirements of paragraph A of the section, ensure that the system provide a means of the authenticating identify the person taking the test. 2. Provide the means of the testing organization monitoring activity of the person taking the test. Do not allow the person making the test, taking the test, to reproduce record of the content of the test of any means. The testing organization is submitted with the documented policy with procedures defined in paragraph A of the section applicable to paragraph B of the section. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration agree with the future review the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, ensuring the compliance with the criteria listed in the section. Testing organization administratively only characterized authorized version medical examiner certification test developed and furnished from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. 390-109 issuing the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration medical examiner certification credentials. Upon compliance with the requirement of 390-103A and B, or A or B, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration medical examiner applicant of Federal Motor Carrier Safety Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administrator medical examiner certification credential with a unique national register number will add the medical examiner name to the National Register of the Certified Male Medical Examiner certified credentials that will expire 10 years after the date of the issuance. 39011, requirements for the continued listing of the National Register for the Certified Medical Examiner. The continued listing for the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. The Medical Examiner to continue to meet the requirement of the subpart applicants. Requirements of Part 391 subchapter report of the Federal Motor Care Safety Management Exchange for the application information submitted in 390-103A for the 30 days change. Can be licensed certified register for the authorized for the physical examination according to the applicable law of the regulation of each of the state with which the medical examiner performs the examination. Maintain documentation, state issuance, regular registration, certification, physical examination for each of the state with an examiner performs examination, maintain documentation, and of the completion of the training required for the section 390-105. The medical examiner must meet the documentation available to be an authorized representative of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, authorized representative of the federal, state, local government. Medical examiner must provide the documentation within 48 hours of the request for the investigation, within 10 days of the request of the regular audits. Eligible to maintain medical examiner identification or certification, completing the training and the testing according to the following: no sooner than 4 years and later than 5 years after the date of the issue of the medical examiner certification and credential, complete periodic training specified Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. No sooner than 9 years and later than 10 years after the date of the issue of the medical examiner certification credential, complete periodic training is specified by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Pass the test is required in 390-103A3. Federal Motor Carrier System. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration will issue the new medical examiner certification credential valid for 10 years. The medical examiner who comply with the paragraph A1 through 4 of the section will successfully complete the training of the testing required in the paragraphs A5 through 2 of this section. R39113, region for the removal of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administrator may remove the medical examiner, the National Register Certified Medical Examiner, where the medical examiner failed to meet the maintained qualifications established by the subpart of the requirements of the other regulations applicable to the medical examiner, otherwise do not meet the requirements of Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 3149. Review the removal that may include but not limited to medical examiner failed to comply with the requirements of the continued listing of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner described in 390-111. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administrator finds that other error in submission of the other indication of improper certification by the medical examiner, the operator either completed medical examination reports of medical examination examiner certification. Federal Motor Carrier Safety determined the medical examiner intended to issue the medical examiner certificate to the motor operator of the commercial motor vehicle who failed to meet the applicable standard at the time of the examination. Medical examiners failed to comply with the examination requirement of 391-43 of this chapter. Medical examiners falsely claim he has completed the training in physical medical examination standards required within the subpart. R39115 proceeds to removal of the National Registered Certified Medical Examiner. Voluntary removal. The voluntary removal of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. The medical examiner may submit the request of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Director, Office of the Carrier Director's Vehicle Safety Standard, except as provided in paragraph B of the section. Director of the Office of the Carrier Driver Vehicle Safety Standards will accept the request of the removal to become effective immediately on and after the date of the issue of the notice of the proposed removal of the National Register for the Certified Medical Examiner described in the paragraph B of the section. Director, Office of the Carrier of the Driver Vehicle Standard will not approve of the medical examiner request of the voluntary removal of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. Notice the proposed removal provided with the paragraph A and E of the section Federal Motor Carrier Safety may initiate the process of the removal of the medical examiner, the National Register Certified the medical examiner by issuing a written notice. Proposed removal of the medical examiner staying with the reason for the removal of the proposed in 39113. Corrective action necessary for the medical examiner to remain listed of the National Register Certified Medical Examiners. Respond to the notice of the proposed removal of the corrective action. Medical examiner that has received the notice of proposed removal to the National Register Certified Medical Examiner must submit the written response to the Director, Office of the Carrier Driver Vehicle Safety Standard no later than 30 days after the day of the issuing of the notice of the proposed removal. The response of the individual indicated either the medical examiner believes the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration have relied on errors in reason for the who and part with the proposing removal of the National Registered with the certified medical examiner described in paragraph C1 of the section. The medical examiner will comply with the take of the corrective action specified in the notice. Proposed removal is described in paragraph C2 of this section. Alright, opposing the notice of the proposed removal of the medical examiner, believe the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration relies on errors for reason for the whole and the part proposed the removal of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. The medical examiner must explain the basis for his or her belief, and then the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration relies on the errors and reason of the proposing removal of the Director, Office, Standard Carrier to Driver the Vehicle Safety Standards will review the explanation. Director, Office of the Carrier to Driver the Vehicle Standards of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety will rely on errors for the proposing removal of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. Director, Office of the Carrier to Driver Vehicle Safety Standards withdrawal of the notice of the proposed removal to notify the medical examiner writing of the determination. If the Director, Office of the Carrier to Driver the Vehicle Safety Standard of the finds the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has partially relied on the errors and the reason for the proposing removal of the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. The Director of the Office of the Carrier Driver Vehicle Safety Standards terms will modify the notice of proposed removal to notify the medical examiner of the writing and the determination only in 60 days of the day of the director of the carrier driver vehicle of its safety standard. They modify the notice of proposed removal. The medical examiner must have a copy, comply with this report with the corrective deficiencies identified, and modify the notice of the proposed removal as described in C2 of the section. Alright, 2. The Director of the Office of Care of the Driver of the Vehicle Safety Chain of the Federal Motor Carrier find that the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has relied on the errors of the proposing removal of the Director of the Office of Care of the Driver of the Vehicle Safety Chain will affirm those proposed removal. They will notify the medical examiner in writing the determination no later than 60 days after the day of the Director of the Office of the Director of the Driver of Vehicle Safety Standards affirm the notice of the proposed removal. The medical examiner must comply with the subpart with the correct deficiencies and identify the notice of the proposed removal as described in paragraph C2 of this section. 3. If medical examiner does not submit the written response within 30 days of the day of the issuance of the proposed removal, the removal that becomes effective with the medical examiner immediately removed from the National Registered Certified Medical Examiner. Complying with the corrective action, medical examiner must comply with the subpart complete with the corrective action specified the notice of the proposed removal no later than 60 days after either day of the issuance of the notice of proposed removal. The Director Office of the Carrier, Director Driver Vehicle Safety Chamber affirms modify the notice of the proposed removal the whichever the labor the medical examiner must provide the documentation compliant with the completion of the corrective action with the Director of the Office for the Carrier, the Driver of the Vehicle Safety Chamber, the Director of the Office of Carrier, the Driver of the Vehicle Safety Chambers may conduct any investigation request of any of the documentation necessary to verify that the medical examiner has complied with the subpart complete with the required corrective action with the Director of the Office of the Carrier, the Driver of the Vehicle Safety Chambers will notify the medical examiner in writing whether he or she meets the requirements of the continuing listing of the National Register of Certified Medical Examiners. Alright, if the medical examiner fails to complete with the proposed corrective action within a 60-day period of the removal that becomes effective, the medical examiner immediately removes the National Register Certified Medical Examiner, the Director of the Office of the Care of the Driver Vehicle Safety Examiner, notify the person writing that he or she have removed the National Register Certified Medical Examiner. At any time of the notice of the proposed removal of the National Register of the Certified Medical Examiner, the final with the recipient of the note proposed the removal of the Director of the Office of Carrier of the driving vehicle, the safety standards may resolve the matter of the mutual agreement. Request the administrative review. The person has removed the National Register of Certified Medical Examiner in paragraph C13 and C22 or E of the section. The person requests the administrative review no later than 30 days after the date of the removal becomes effective. The request must be submitted to the written Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and Associated Administrative Policy and Program Development. The request must explain the error committed within removing the medical examiner of the National Register Certified Medical Examiners, include a list of all the factual, legal, the procedural issue of the dispute, and any support information of the documentation, additional procedures, administrative review, the associated administrator may ask the person to submit additional data with the intent of the conference to discuss the removal. If the person does not provide information requested, does not attend with the schedule of the conference, the associated administrator may submit the request for the administrative review. Decision from the administrative review, the associated administrator will complete the administrative review of the notify the party in writing and perseverance from the writing of the decision. The decision constitutes the final agency action of the associated administrator to decide whether the removal that was not filed with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and state the person reissue certification credential to expire expiration date of the certificate was invalidated under the paragraph G of the section. Reinforcement medical examiner must continue to meet the requirements of the subpart of the applicant and the requirements of part 391 of the chapter. Report from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety any change of the applicant information submitted to 390-103A of 3 with 30 days of the reinstatement be licensed certified with the registered in accordance with the applicable state laws regulation before perform physical examinations. Maintain documentation, state line, license, registration, certification, more physical examination. Each state with the examiner performs examination, maintains documentation, completion all training required in 390-105, 390-111. The Department medical examiner must also make the documentation available to authorized representative of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, authorized representative of the federal, state, local government. The medical examiner must provide the documentation within 48 hours of the request of an investigation. Alright, within 10 days of the request of the regular audit, the eligibility complete with the periodic required the Director, Office of the Carrier, the driver of the vehicle standards, emergency, remove the and keep the either willingness of the public interest of safety required for the provision, paragraph B of the not applicable, the Director of the Office of the Carrier, the driver of the vehicle safety chairman, the man may immediately remove the medical examiner from the National Register Certified Male Examiner, invalidated the certificate credential issued within 390-109. The person who have removed under the provision paragraph may request the administrative review of the decision described in paragraph D of this section. Reinstatement of the National Register Certified Medical Examiners no sooner than 30 days of the day of the removal of the National Register Certified Male Examiner. The person who have the voluntary involuntary removal of the mask may apply with the Director, Officer of the Carrier, Director of the Vehicle Safety Channel. The reinstatement of the person must continue to meet the requirements of the subpart applicable to the requirements of Part 391 for the chapter of the Part V and Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Chamber the application information submitted 390-103-A3 of the license certified the registered in accordance with the applicable state laws, regulations, and form physical examinations. Alright, maintain documentation, state license or registration certification, perform the physical examination of each state with which the person performs the examination, maintain with the documentation completion of the training required with the 390-105, 390-111. The medical examiner must also make with the documentation available to the authorized representative of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, authorized representative of the federal, state, and local government, with the other person provide the documentation within 48 hours of the request for the investigation within 10 days. Of the request for regular audits and eligibility, complete training and the testing of the required by the director, officer of the carrier, the driver of the vehicle, safety, standard, and capability of the person with the involuntary and approved, provided the documentation showing the completion of any of the corrective action required by the notice of the proposed removal. Effective financial decision of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration person removed the National Register of the Certified Medical Examiner, paragraph C and C or E with the section certification credentials used in 390-109 is no longer valid. However, the removed the person information remains publicly available for 3 years. The indication of the person no longer listed. National Register of Certified Medical Examiner date of removal. Subpart E, Unified Register System. Unified Registration System, Subpart E.